Hi and welcome. My name is Emily Kimball with the Kentucky Commission on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. I'm the Information Coordinator for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And today I have Rachel Rogers, who is our interpreter. So she's going to be interpreting for the both of us. So today we have a special guest, and I would like for you to take a moment to introduce who you are and what you do here at the Transportation Cabinet.
Sure. My name is Matthew Cole, and I'm the Director for Driver's License in the Department of Vehicle Regulation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, as you may have known in the last few weeks, there has been some news out there talking about the new driver's license here in Kentucky and kind of creating some confusion. So we had contacted out to Matt and just see if we could make some clarification for you all. So first, I really want to ask, what is Real ID law? What's the point of that?
Understood. Real ID is the federal requirement that was a result of the findings of the 9/11 Commission, and essentially it's a reset for the states to follow new procedures, security policy for the issuance of state-issued credentials. The good news about this program is it's going to be optional, and that people can either get the standard license or the voluntary travel ID, which is our Real ID compliant credential.
Can you explain the difference between the two IDs and so that the constituents can see which one would fit best for them?
Certainly. The standard credential is going to enable you to drive, to vote, to do age-restricted purchases. You'll still be able to get into all federal buildings that offer entitlements and benefits like a VA hospital or Social Security Administration. The voluntary travel ID, which is the Real ID compliant version, will also allow you to fly on commercial domestic flights and enter restricted federal buildings such as the White House, FBI, nuclear power plants, military bases.
That's good to know. So it doesn't come out until 2020, correct?
That's correct. We'll start launching in the first quarter of 2019, and it'll take us about 8 weeks to roll it out to all 120 counties.
So what is the best way for, are they going to start in Louisville and then work out to the rural counties? Or what is the best way to figure out if their county is ready?
Sure. We're going to have a list here shortly that we'll be able to release to the public. It will start in a lot of the larger areas, and then it'll work out geographically, so we'll have multiple teams working in multiple areas.
So once the county has the way to get their new IDs and the constituent is ready to go that way, what do they need to do and what to expect when they arrive to the circuit clerk's office?
That's a great question. Right now is an important time for everybody to go and pull up their documents that they need, birth certificates, social security cards. In some instances, they may need court orders or marriage certificates if there's been a name or a gender change. We have a format on our website now called iDocument, and people can go there and select the credentials they have and find out all the requirements they need for either type of credential that they can either email to themselves or print out and bring that list with them and the documents when they come to the circuit clerk office.
I think that's just a wonderful tool to have. I think that's going to help to reduce a lot of confusion, a lot of trips back home. I'm like, oh, I got the wrong one. This will just kind of help to make the transition much smoother for everyone. So I understand with the new system, you're not going to get your driver's license when you get there. You're going to get a temporary license, and we've not experienced that here in Kentucky that I can remember. So is that something that is new and to be expected?
Yes, it is new for the state of Kentucky. However, it's old in the industry. There's a lot of states that are already mailing from central issuance, and it was one of the requirements of Real ID to have a secure production facility that we weren't able to do in the multiple offices we had for all the circuit clerks.
So once they go to the office, they'll just get a temporary piece of paper, and then a new one will be mailed to them shortly after?
That's correct.
Okay.
So you'll get a temporary printed document that will contain all the information that will be on the license, and then the hard credential will be mailed to the individual in 5 to 10 days, very similar to a credit card or debit card.
So, now that we learned how to go to get our new ID, there have been some changes made with the costs. They're giving a lot of these constituent options of which one they want, but also if they want to do the 4-year and the 8-year. Can you explain the difference in the cost difference for the standard ID and the voluntary ID?
Absolutely. That's one thing that we wanted to have in this program were options, so people can decide whether they want the standard credential or the voluntary travel ID. And during the first issuance cycle, the first 4 years, most credential holders can pick between 4-year and 8-year, the exceptions being permits and CDL licenses. The standard licenses for an 8-year credential is $43. The 4-year is half of that at $21.50. For the voluntary travel ID, then the 8-year is $48 and the 4-year version is $24.
So, I myself, my license just expired this past September, and so it's still good for 4 years. And so I've kind of fallen in that window. It goes past October 1st, 2020, and do I need to get my real ID or can I wait? What do I need to do if I were to need to apply to another state, or if I just plan to stay on ground in Kentucky or travel by vehicle? What are some key things that would be helpful to keep in mind so it not make us panic in a way?
Sure. One thing to remember is with the October 2020 date, that's when the extensions will end. So that means that currently, while under extension, our standard issued document that we offer is Real ID compliant, and therefore they can enjoy all the benefits of a Real ID compliant document. In October of 2020, the extensions will not be granted any further, and that's when people need to make a decision. For people who have recently renewed their document.
Okay, so recently I just renewed my ID, and after the expiration date comes, it's going to come after October 1st, 2020. So is that a concern that I may have?
No, it's not a concern, just because we have the ability to offer several options. For anyone that doesn't require the benefit of flying or entering military bases, they can just stay with their standard license until the expiration date. But if they choose, they can always go into their circuit clerk office and upgrade from the standard to the voluntary travel ID for $15 and just bring in their required paperwork, which would be the proof of identity, proof of social security number, and proof of residence.
So, since I like to travel and flight, it's usually something that I prefer to do than drive. So if I were to get this Real ID, will this be able to replace the passport to say if I wanted to go to Paris, France?
No, the passport unfortunately is needed for international travel. The Real ID compliant versions of our credentials are only good for commercial domestic flights, entering military bases, nuclear facilities, places like that.
Great.
So I just want to make some clarifications on some terminology with before they go to the circuit clerk's office. Can you explain what credentials are in terms of the driver's license?
Yes. The credential is the hard piece of plastic that you receive that's either a driver's license, ID card, or permit.
Okay, so to get the credentials, what document do they need to bring to the clerk's office?
Right. If you're coming with a standard license and you're going to get a standard license, no additional forms are necessary. But if you're a first-time driver or deciding to upgrade from the standard to the voluntary travel ID, that's when they need to bring in the proof of social security number, proof of identity, and proof of residence. The difference between the two is the standard license would only require one proof of residence, and the voluntary travel ID requires two.
So with all these changes that we are seeing, I understand that the whole point is just give us a sense of security while we do fly within the state. So, where can we get more information to learn more about the options that we have, or what documents we need, or just so we can make decisions of what is best for us?
That's true. We have a website. It's drive.ky.gov, and it contains all the information you'll need for cost, documents that you'll need to bring to the circuit clerk, different credentials that are offered. It has a ton of information and a way to contact us if you need to have any additional questions answered.
So after you look over this website and see what all the new information and all the changes that are happening, you can always contact the Kentucky Commission on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing if you have some additional questions or just need some clarification. And certainly, if we're not able to answer those, we will certainly contact Matthew, and he will be glad to assist to make sure that you are prepared before you go to the clerk's office. Thank you so much for joining us today.